starting off today with a celestial jellyfish felt like a good place to begin. In the cosmic tapestry of anomalies, a celestial jellyfish emerges, its ethereal tendrils reaching across the vast expanse of a distant galaxy cluster, 340 million light-years away from the gaze of our pale blue dot. Scientists, armed with instruments that dissect the cosmic symphony, stumbled upon this mysterious structure and couldn't figure it out. This jellyfish-shaped apparition, aptly christened the USS Jellyfish, unfurls its tentacles through the cold void of space, emitting an ultra-low radio frequency, a cosmic whisper that echoes across the cosmic oceans. Its existence, a puzzle woven into the fabric of the cosmos, beckons scientists to decipher its origin and purpose. The celestial sea creature, as the astronomers playfully term it, is not an ethereal being, but a manifestation of the cosmic dance between sizzling hot gas and electrons, choreographed by the hand of black hole theatrics. So, picture this. Material expelled from a voracious black hole, a cosmic burp of sorts, entwines itself with magnetic fields, birthing the spectral dance of the USS Jellyfish. As a celestial being navigates the cosmic currents, its tentacles emit radio waves, a symphony that resonates across the vastness of the galaxy cluster. Here, in the realm of galactic congregations, the dance of particles and the hum of magnetic fields converge, giving birth to a cosmic ballet that transcends the boundaries of our comprehension. So what fuels the celestial dance? The expelled material, ejected from the gravitational clutches of a black hole, swirls like cosmic beings, encircling magnetic fields in a gravitational waltz. So in this intricate choreography, radio waves emanate from the celestial jellyfish, a celestial orchestra, I know, I just really like that word, playing a tune that reaches us across unfathomable distances. As the gas and electrons engage in this pas de deux, they create a celestial ballet that transcends the boundaries of our understanding. So the reacceleration of radio wave, an encore in the cosmic symphony, occurs as the jellyfish traverses the galaxy cluster, leaving astronomers in awe of the intricate interplay between matter, magnetism, and the cosmic stage, upon which this celestial dance unfolds. Next up, we have a word that's about to be fun for me to say over and over and over again, and Oumuamua. I swear I tried to look up how to pronounce things for today, folks. I'm not perfect. So when it comes to the vast cosmic expanse that I love to talk about, this cosmic visitor decided to grace our solar neighborhood, making a spectacular entrance back in 2017. It was like, hey guys, how's it going? This massive elongated object resembling a cigar hurtled past Earth at an extraordinary speed, a breakneck pace of 196,000 miles per hour, leaving astronomers and enthusiasts alike in awe. NASA, ever the cosmic sentinel, proclaimed Oumuamua as a celestial emissary, a cosmic envoy from beyond our solar borders. Its trajectory, its otherworldly speed, set it apart as the first known interstellar object to venture into, well, our cosmic neighborhood. However, the origins of this cigar-shaped wanderer remain shrouded in mystery, a puzzle that intrigued and perplexed the cosmic detectives over at NASA. Harvard professor Avi Loeb, with the audacity to entertain the extraterrestrial, postulated that, well, this thing might not be a mere cosmic wanderer, but a relic of advanced alien technology, a cosmic artifact cast adrift from a civilization beyond our horizon. His hypothesis injected a dose of extraterrestrial intrigue into the scientific discourse, igniting the cosmic imaginations of those who dared to ponder the possibility of cosmic neighbors. But the cosmic jury remained divided, because that's what happens when you talk about aliens, and other scientists, tethered to the gravitational forces of skepticism, proposed alternative cosmic narratives. Some suggested that it might be a cosmic refugee, a Pluto-like celestial wanderer dislodged from its planetary abode eons ago, embarking on a cosmic odyssey that eventually led it into the gravitational embrace of our sun. So as this whodunit continued its journey through the cosmic seas, its unknown nature lingered in the cosmic consciousness. This cosmic cigar, once an unknown emissary from the cosmic expanse, transcended the realm of scientific inquiry, becoming a symbol of the mysteries that lie beyond our celestial shores. So, in this tapestry that I love so much, where galaxies swirl like Van Gogh's Starry Night, a peculiar celestial phenomenon caught everybody's attention back in 2019. A hazy circular object materialized in the cosmic tableau, defying easy categorization, leaving scientists uttering a cosmic WTF in the face of this apparition. Dubbed WTF, kinda fitting, for its mysterious nature, this circular cosmic enigma sparked intrigue and bewilderment amongst astronomers. A cosmic interloper, a smoky sphere hanging in the celestial expanse, prompted cosmic detectives to unfold the cosmic mysteries surrounding its existence. But this was not a lone wanderer. It was merely the herald of a cosmic revelation. So within just days, a celestial deja vu unfolded as a second smoky orb graced the cosmic stage. The bewilderment obviously deepened, and astronomers found themselves confronted not only with an isolated anomaly, but with a cosmic chorus of mysterious spheres. The cosmos, it seemed, was orchestrating a cosmic riddle, and scientists needed to decipher the celestial clues embedded in these objects. Entered the odd radio circles, ORCs, a name befitting their cosmic ambiguity. These circular enigmas, draped in cosmic haze, defied conventional explanation, earning them the moniker of odd. As scientists delved into the cosmic detective work, the true nature of ORCs remained elusive, a puzzle awaiting cosmic unraveling. The cosmic speculation surrounding ORCs ventured into the realms of theoretical physics and cosmic cataclysms. Some proposed a connection to wormholes, cosmic tunnels bending the fabric of space and time itself. Others pondered whether the ORCs emerged from the aftermath of distant galactic explosions. Going back to the grand cosmic narrative, where mysteries linger like cosmic echoes, the story of ORCs exemplifies the frontiers of our cosmic understanding. So as scientists gaze into the cosmic unknown, these mysterious circles beckon us to peer beyond the veil of certainty, inviting us to contemplate the vast cosmic possibilities that elude our grasp. The cosmic WTF imprinted on these odd radio circles continues to echo through the cosmic corridors, a reminder that the cosmos is not only grand, but profoundly mysterious.
Number 3. Ethereal whirlpool of light. The ethereal whirlpool of light is a beautiful phenomenon that is actually caused by, well, us. Astronomers refer to the spirals as SpaceX spirals, and they have become more common in recent years as the number of launches have increased. On April 15th, a spiral appeared above Alaska, while the beautiful northern lights were shining a vibrant green. A video was able to be captured by University of Alaska's Poker Flat Research Range. In the video, you can see the spiral appear as just a small bright spot before quickly forming into a giant spiral and then fading into the sky behind it. The entire video lasted only 7 minutes in real time. Todd Sallet, astrophotographer, was able to capture a photo of a spiral near Delta Junction, a city in Alaska. Sallet said, "I was utterly surprised and mystified when I first spotted a distant bright light coming toward me from the northern horizon. At first I thought it was a jet airliner flying through some clouds. Then it took on the spiral shape and grew big. Fast. The spirals form when rocket fuel is ejected from fast-spinning rockets and is then frozen in space. The swirls reflect the sunlight hitting them back towards the Earth, making them visible to earthly onlookers. The spirals are only visible at night, and though many rockets do take off and create these spirals, they may appear over oceans or during storms and overcasts or in the daytime, so they wouldn't be visible. Many who are lucky enough to see the spiral in real time are left in a petrified state of awe. As though it looks beautiful, seeing a spiral materialize before your eyes would feel less like a dream and more like the last moments you have on Earth before an alien race touches down and takes over. In my opinion, it does feel a little dystopian to essentially have a man-made astronomical event, and it feels like a synthetic phenomena. But I would really like to see a spiral one of these days, and by the sounds of it, they're just going to become more common as time goes on. Yay! So many resources and so much money being used on exploring a place where most of us can't go. If that's not the most inhuman, human thing you've ever heard, I don't know what is. Number 2. Red halo over Italy. This next one seems like it's straight out of an alien invasion movie. On March 27th, 2023, a red halo made of light flashed over Pisano, Italy, appearing and disappearing within milliseconds. Because the event happened so quickly, most people didn't get a chance to become terrified and probably thought the people gasping at the sky and shuddering were experiencing a fit of mass hysteria. Though the flash was quick and many missed it, nature photographer Walter Benotto was able to snap a super cute pic of the camera-shy ring. Though the giant ring, spanning about 360 kilometers in size, appeared to be directly over the town, it was actually over central Italy and the Adriatic Sea. Forced perspective made it appear that the ring was directly over the town. This kind of natural phenomenon is known as an emission of light and very low frequency perturbations due to electromagnetic pulse sources. It is also thankfully known as an ELV. Super cute. ELVs are a rare type of stratospheric or mesospheric perturbations resulting from intense thunderstorm electrification. The red rings are created when electromagnetic pulses are given off by extremely powerful lightning hitting Earth's ionosphere. When EMP's electrons hit the ionosphere, the charged particles excite nitrogen atoms, which give them a reddish glow. ELVs are usually only visible to satellites because of their need to get in and get out before anyone on the ground can snap a pic. So they were only discovered in 1990 by shuttles armed with cameras, which is crazy because that's so recent. Most phenomena had been discovered and researched well before then. Benotto has been praised for having taken the best photo from the ground of an ELV. Benotto believes that the ELV was generated by a huge thunderstorm 200 kilometers away from Pisano. This red ring dazzled many. Extraterrestrial theorists had a field day before the explanation was released. I mean, a giant glowing ring appeared in the sky, seemingly moving quicker than the speed of light. I would absolutely be preparing to fight off a probing alien species. Number 1. Red sprites. Red sprites appear as luminous red-orange flashes. They mostly occur in clusters above the troposphere, which is the lowest layer of Earth's atmosphere. Sightings of these events stretch back to at least 1886, but they were only first photographed over 100 years after the recorded discovery, in 1989, by scientists from the University of Minnesota. Sprites are a cold plasma phenomena that differ from regular lightning due to the lack of hot channel temperatures. If you know how fluorescent lights work, they've been compared to fluorescent tube discharges. Sprites are reddish-orange in their upper regions, and their tendrils are blue. A reddish halo may also appear before the sprites do, almost as a warning sign or as a, hey, look what I can do. Sprites only last a few milliseconds and are usually triggered by the discharges of positive lightning between the thundercloud and the ground. But sprites caused by negative ground flashes have also occurred. They often appear in groups of 2 or more, and their huge size lights up the sky with a terrifyingly mesmerizing show. Red sprites spotted in France have been complimented for their alluring beauty, but they also kind of resemble a nervous system to me, like the intertwining tendrils and the almost spine-like line running up the center. The sprites have been divided into 3 categories: jellyfish, column, and carrot. The jellyfish sprite is very large, up to 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers. Column sprites are large-scale electrical discharges above the Earth. They are still not quite understood. Carrot sprites are a column sprite, but with long tendrils, and I'd assume they're even less understood than the column. The phenomenon has been seen over North America, Central Africa, Australia, South America, Europe, the Sea of Japan, and Asia, so pretty much everywhere. Your chances of capturing a picture of a sprite is pretty low though. Super specific conditions must be met, and your equipment would have to be pretty expensive to catch a good picture.
Jumping right into number 5 is the Mary Celeste. Formerly known as the Amazon, the Mary Celeste was an American merchant brigantine under the captaincy of Benjamin Spooner Briggs. In October of 1872, Briggs would captain the Mary Celeste and prepare for the boat's first voyage. Accompanied by his wife Sarah, their young daughter Sophia, and a crew of 8 carefully selected men, Briggs would set course for Genoa, Italy on November 5th, carrying 1,701 barrels of booze. Days after their departure, another brigantine from Canada, the Dei Gratia, would set course for Gibraltar, following a similar route to the Mary Celeste. On December 4th, 1872, the helmsman of the Dei Gratia reported that a strange vessel was heading unsteadily towards it from about 10 kilometers or 6 miles away. The unidentified ship's strange and erratic movements tipped off to the Dei Gratia's captain that something was wrong, and the Canadian brigantine would proceed with caution. As the mysterious ship drew close, members of the crew noticed that there was no one on it, and when it wouldn't respond to any signals sent to it from the Dei Gratia, 2 crew members would board the ship in order to investigate. It was at this point that the pair would find out that this mysterious empty ship was the Mary Celeste. The sails on the abandoned brig were set in poor condition, much of the rigging was damaged, ropes hung loosely over the sides, the compass was broken, a significant amount of water was found in the boat, and its only lifeboat was missing. However, all of the ship's cargo remained relatively intact. The 2 crewmates also found the ship's daily log in a cabin. Its final entry dated at 8 a.m. on November 25th, 9 days earlier. The log places the Mary Celeste's last known position nearly 750 kilometers, which is 400 nautical miles, away. The Dei Gratia and its crew would split up in order to bring the Mary Celeste to their destination, Gibraltar, where they would sell the ship in order to be salvaged. The disappearance of the Mary Celeste's crew is a mystery to behold, as the remains of Captain Briggs, his family, and his crew have yet to be found to this day. And over those years, various theories and explanations have been made. Some say there was an accidental explosion caused by one of the barrels of alcohol aboard the ship. Water spouts damaging the ship is another theory, pirates, or even alien abduction. Personally, I think the crew may have taken the lifeboat deep into the ocean and perished while lost at sea. Make sure to comment below your own theories on the matter. Anyway, regardless of how it happened, the Mary Celeste acts as one of the earliest examples of the Bermuda Triangle's mysterious nature and highlights the dangers that comes with venturing into the unknown. Next up at number 4 is the Great Isaac Cay Lighthouse. Constructed in the mid-19th century on a remote island in the Bahamas, the Great Isaac Cay Lighthouse was a beacon of hope for any mariners trying to navigate the treacherous waters. It stood tall, proud, and bright, warning sailors of the rocks that lurked beneath the waves. The island it was on was desolate, only accessible by boat and inhabited by the keepers of the lighthouse, John and William. It was the keeper's job to make sure the beacon's light remained operational, while performing a fair share of arduous and difficult tasks in order to maintain the lighthouse. And I know, this is starting to sound a lot like the movie The Lighthouse, but this story ends a whole lot differently. On the fateful day of August 4th, 1969, shortly after a storm, a supply ship is scheduled to bring essentials for the keepers, such as food, toilet paper, and the like. However, When the ship arrives, it's met with an eerie silence. When the supply crew noticed that the lighthouse was strangely unlit, they immediately alerted authorities, and a search party was dispatched to the island. Upon arrival, the search party found the lighthouse deserted and the island it rested on just as desolate. The only clues were some open doors and entries missing from the lightkeeper's log, which only left more questions than answers. Theories and rumors quickly began to circulate after the sudden disappearance, many claiming the two lightkeepers were taken by pirates or robbers. Some thought they were killed in a storm. But honestly, if I was stuck on a remote island taking care of a lighthouse, I'd probably find a way to disappear too. Though deep down, we already know who, or rather what, was to blame: the mysterious nature of the Bermuda Triangle. A year after the incident, the Great Isaac Cay lighthouse was made to be automated so that no other inexplicable disappearances could occur again, and John and William were never seen or heard from again after the incident, marking another unsolved mystery stemming from the Devil's Triangle.
So how about some video game references next? So they say that in space, no one can hear you, waka 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 waka. Tell that to the Pac-Man remnant, the gassy remains of an ancient supernova that have taken on a shape instantly recognizable to fans of the classic video game. Behold the cosmic Pac-Man, a quirky and unexpected player on the cosmic stage, residing in the southern sky. So in the grand tapestry of the universe, where stars explode and galaxies collide, this peculiar anomaly, officially known as N63A, emerges as a cosmic callback to a classic video game. Let's just call it Pac-Man, nestled within the large Magellanic Cloud galaxy, a mere 163,000 light years from the Milky Way. The gassy remains of an ancient star, collapsed under the weight of its own celestial destiny, now echoes the iconic shape of Pac-Man. The celestial creature, born from the remnants of stellar demise, stands as a testament to the whims of cosmic chance. The dispersal of superheated gas took on this unmistakable shape, a cosmic coincidence that transforms a stellar graveyard into a playful homage to a gaming legend. But the cosmic play doesn't end with Pac-Man's silhouette. Bright power pellets dot the cosmic labyrinth, not by happenstance, but by the meticulous craftsmanship of stellar creation. These celestial morsels are young stars, forged from the very same gas cloud that once cradled Pac-Man's ill-fated stellar ancestor. The cycle of stellar life and death continues, and new luminous players emerge in the aftermath of celestial explosions. In the cosmic irony of it all, it appears that Pac-Man's stellar counterpart, despite its celestial charisma, has run out of extra lives. The star's collapse, a cosmic game over, has left behind a captivating visual legacy, a stellar Pac-Man frozen in the cosmic arcades of space and time. So as we gaze into the southern sky where the Pac-Man remnant resides, we find a whimsical reminder that the universe, in its vast complexity, occasionally indulges in playful cosmic configurations. So in the grand cosmic arcade, where stars are born and games are played on a cosmic scale, this celestial Pac-Man serves as a delightful and unexpected token, awaiting the next cosmic level to unfold. Enter the helix-shaped black hole energy cannon, a cosmic spectacle unveiled in the elliptical galaxy Messier 87, located a staggering 55 million light years from our cosmic abode. So in 2019, humanity marveled at the first ever image of a supermassive black hole, an entity of mind-boggling proportions, looming at the heart of Messier 87. Fast forward to the present, and scientists armed with the Very Large Array Observatory in New Mexico turn their gaze to the colossal jet erupting from the black hole's center. What unfolds is a cosmic shocker that defies the conventional, as the jet, extending a jaw-dropping 8,000 light years, reveals a mesmerizing corkscrew-like helical structure. This revelation, a celestial double helix, challenges our preconceived notions about the straightforward nature of cosmic jets. So instead of a linear trajectory, the black hole unleashes a contorted spiral dance that stretches into the cosmic abyss. At the heart of this cosmic contortion lies a magnetic field, a celestial maestro conducting the symphony of matter and energy that emanates from the black hole's core. The magnetic field, akin to a cosmic corkscrew, weaves its intricate pattern through space, extending its influence for an astonishing 3,300 light years. This marks a cosmic record, the longest magnetic field ever detected in a galactic jet. So as we contemplate this celestial spectacle, we are confronted with the boundless complexity of the universe, where even the most common phenomena unfold in unexpected and astonishing ways. The helix-shaped black hole energy cannon transcends the mundane and propels our understanding of the cosmos into uncharted territories. It's a testament to the cosmic grandeur that defies easy categorization, inviting us to ponder the mysteries that lurk in the depths of space. So as we peer into Messier 87 and witness the celestial choreography, we're reminded that the cosmos, in its vastness, harbors surprises that challenge our intellect and inspire awe. In 5th place, we have the unexplained Phoenix Lights. On March 13th of 1997, which just so happens to be the year I was born, a string of 5 lights in a V formation appeared in the sky above Phoenix, Arizona. The National UFO Reporting Center reported that the first call about the lights came in at around 8:16 p.m. from a retired police police officer in Paulden, which is about 2 hours north of Phoenix. After that, the National UFO Reporting Center began to receive a slew of calls from south of Paulden, suggesting that the lights were moving in a southeastern direction. There are more than 700 witnesses who saw the lights, including pilots, police officers, and military officials who lit up the National UFO Reporting Center switchboard, demanding explanations, and rightfully so. Most of the witnesses described the lights as part of a singular massive craft that made no noise. Around 10 p.m., a second set of as many as, 9 lights appeared in the sky. A laser printer technician named Dana Valentine claimed to have witnessed the craft from his yard in Phoenix, saying that he could see the outline of the mass behind the lights and was certain what he saw was technology unknown to mankind. Air traffic controllers could not see the lights on the radar, despite seeing them in the sky with their own eyes. Frances Barwood, the Phoenix City Councilwoman who launched an investigation into the event, said that out of the over 700 witnesses, 700 that she interviewed, the government never interviewed even one. This is once again where I'm giving the US government some well-deserved side-eye. How do you not interview a single witness out of 700? That is way too many people for this to not be credible. And once again, like I've said many times before here, so many witnesses happen to be credible air personnel. I'm sensing a pattern of behavior here and not a good one. In fourth place, we have a case of reincarnation. In the 1940s, Florence and John Pollock were married, and in 1946, after having 2 sons, they welcomed their first daughter, who was named Joanna. In 1951, Florence gave birth to another baby girl named Jacqueline. Despite their age differences, the 2 girls had an extremely close bond. Joanna liked to take care of Jacqueline and saw herself as the ultimate big sister. Since her mother was busy running the family's grocery delivery business, Joanna saw herself as a second mother to her little sister. They enjoyed playing dress up and pretending, and generally enjoyed being around each other. Thank goodness, because parentification is often more traumatizing than beneficial. Eerily, Joanna would always state that she would never grow up to become a lady, that she would remain young forever. No one took her seriously and chalked it up to a very creative imagination. Kinda like how I've always had. On May 7th of 1957, mid-single digits-year-old Jacqueline and double-digits-year-old Joanna were walking to church with a neighborhood boy, as they often did. While they were walking, a car came up behind them and it hit them going at an incredibly high speed, killing all 3. The Pollock sisters died instantly, and the boy they were with died from his injuries at the hospital. The woman who was driving the car had just lost her wards in a custody battle and was feeling angry and upset and was actually trying to take her own life. While learning about her ward's deaths, Florence fell into a deep depression that lasted a very long time. John, on the other hand, had the spiritual belief that the girls were in heaven or that they'd be reincarnated. He said he would have dreams about the girls and also felt some sort of presence in their bedroom. He claimed that every time he would go in there, he felt like he wasn't alone, like they were watching over him. Now, John apparently always had a fascination with reincarnation and would pray to God to bring his daughters back. Okay. Florence, on the other hand, was a very strict Catholic and never toyed with any of John's notions about reincarnation. This put such a strain on the relationship that they almost got a divorce. However, somehow, they stayed together and got pregnant again. Congrats, I guess. From the beginning of the pregnancy, John thought that there were 2 babies, despite the doctor only claiming 1. However, John kept insisting that there were 2, and the doctor was proven wrong on the day that the twins Jillian and Jennifer were born on October 4th of 1958. Twins never ran in the family, and Florence never felt like she had 2 fetuses growing inside of her. Eerily, the newborn twins had the exact same birthmarks that Joanna and Jacqueline had, and Florence started to seriously consider her husband's beliefs as more than just nonsense. When the twins were old enough to talk, they began identifying and requesting toys that had belonged to their sisters, who had passed on, and would point out landmarks that only Joanna and Jacqueline would have known, like the school they attended. They would sometimes panic upon seeing cars and knew about street safety without either of their parents telling them about it. The story of the Pollock sisters made its way to Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychologist who studied reincarnation. After studying thousands of reincarnation cases, Dr. Stevenson wrote a book telling of 14 cases he believed to have been real, including that of the Pollock sisters. Reincarnation is such a wild thing to think about. Personally, I don't know if I'd want to start all over with all the current knowledge and trauma that I have and then add more. I think I'd rather just be wiped clear and restart. Nah. Let me know in the comments what you think though, and if you'd want to be reincarnated or just hit restart.
And at number 3 is the USS Cyclops. The USS Cyclops was one of 4 bulk cargo ships built for the United States Navy a few years before the beginning of World War I. It gets its namesake from the Cyclops, a race of one-eyed giants from Greek mythology. The whopping 542-foot collier set sail from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil on February 16, 1918, carrying a cargo of manganese ore bound for Baltimore, Maryland. It was due to arrive at its destination by the 13th of March. The ship under the command of Lieutenant Commander George W. Worley, had a crew of 309 officers and men on board. The ship, having been built in 1910, was not on its first journey. In fact, this was a trip the boat had made many times before, and one its crew was very familiar with. However, there were a couple problems with the ship. One was that the ship was struggling with engine trouble after departing, and the other was that the ship was carrying too much cargo, leaving it to be overloaded. The crew did not see these issues glaring enough to delay their journey and made their way through the Atlantic anyway. Time would fly, and the boat's journey seemed to be going as planned, the Cyclops being last seen by another vessel only 4 days before their date of arrival. Yet, there were no reports of the cargo ship reaching its intended destination of Baltimore. In fact, the ship was nowhere to be found, and contact with the rest of the US Navy and the world had been completely cut off. This was during World War I. The original assumption of most was that the USS Cyclops had been destroyed in combat. However, there was never a distress signal sent from the ship, nor were any remains found of the ship. Even after a thorough search of the area it was last known to be, these remains were still not found. It had completely disappeared. Reports indicate that there was a violent storm around the area that the military vessel would have been a day after it was last seen. A common theory behind the USS Cyclops vanishing is that the terrible storm sank the boat, as it was already suffering from engine troubles and was overloaded with cargo. Though, that still doesn't explain the lack of any remains or signals sent by the crew, but the mystery doesn't end there. The same exact vanishing would happen to two of the Cyclops' sister ships, Proteus and Nereus, during World War II. They would both disappear without a trace like the Cyclops before them, both within the Bermuda Triangle. Speaking of World War II, is Flight 19 at our number 2 spot. Flight 19 is the codename of a training mission that would happen on December 5th, 1945. It was comprised of 5 bomber planes taken from the Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale in Florida. Flight 19 was tasked with navigating a triangular route over the Atlantic, known as the navigation problem number 1, before returning to base. Weather conditions were reported to be clear skies and calm winds. Sounds simple enough, right? Think again. Because shortly after takeoff, radio transmissions from the 5 torpedo bombers indicated the pilots were disoriented. They claimed that they couldn't identify their location at all. The flight instructor at the time, Lieutenant Taylor, told the team that he believed that they were flying over the Florida Keys, an incorrect calculation that would send them off course and towards the Bermuda Triangle. Radio control would continue to try guiding the pilots back to base, but things started to go wrong when radio contact with Flight 19 suddenly came to a stop. I'm sure by now you know the story. A massive search and rescue operation was launched involving several aircrafts and ships, but no trace of Flight 19 was found. In fact, during the search for Flight 19, another aircraft vanished without a trace, adding to the mystery. Many blame the disappearance of Flight 19 on natural magnetic anomalies and unexpected storms, but the truth to where those 14 crew members on the training mission went remains unknown. With all these disappearances across the years, it begs the question of where all these boats and planes are disappearing to. Do you guys have any theories? Let me know in the comments. And topping it all off at number 1 is none other than the Ellen Austin. The Ellen Austin was a massive 3-masted American schooner built in 1854. The vessel would regularly ply between London, England and New York, crossing through the Bermuda Triangle. It wouldn't be until 1881, during another London to New York trip, would the Ellen Austin and its crew come across another ship on the Atlantic. This unknown ship was seemingly adrift and unmanned, so the crew of the Ellen Austin boarded the abandoned ship to investigate. The crew found that the ship was in perfect condition, but completely empty, raising questions as to why it was abandoned in the first place. After this discovery, the crew of the Ellen Austin decided to split their crew and tow the ship in order to salvage it and make some extra money. During this towing, the two vessels were hit by an unexpected storm, separating them from each other. However, the Ellen Austin and the abandoned ship would find each other again. However, the abandoned ship was vacant once again. The crew of the Ellen Austin would try to tow the ship again, but much to their dismay, the same exact thing would happen. Big storm, the ship gets separated, and the crew is completely gone, with the ship still intact. And before they could find the ship again, what little was left of the Ellen Austin's crew would depart hastily, in fear of this cursed abandoned ship. This mysterious ship and its disappearing crew members quickly became a legend of the Bermuda Triangle, as reports of seeing the same abandoned ship were made, not only years, but centuries later, still in perfect condition. The true origins of this mysterious ship remain unknown, but it is said that the ship is an embodiment of the Bermuda Triangle's curse, vanishing any seafarer that tries to board it. But honestly, it's got nothing on any of the crazy pirates you see in Pirates of the Caribbean, so there's that at least, right?
Coming in our number 5 spot, the Devil's Footprints. On February 8th in 1855, a mysterious footprint shaped as a hoof appeared overnight after a heavy snowfall in southern Devon. According to reports, these footprints stretched over 100 miles. They also somehow went through solid walls and haystacks, appearing on the other side as if there was no barrier. The footprints were always 8.5 inches apart and had 1 foot going in front of the other. This suggested that it was from a creature that was bipedal bipedal rather than a creature that walked on all fours. Some suggest that these footprints belong to the devil who is roaming the countryside looking for sinners. And at number 4, the Bouvet Islands. Deep in the South Atlantic, the Bouvet Island has been described as one of the most isolated places on Earth. The nearest landmass to it is Antarctica, which is more than 1,700 kilometers south. No one has ever inhabited this island, and since plant life is unsustainable, it's unlikely anyone ever will. Yet in 1964, when a British expedition arrived from South Africa, they actually discovered an abandoned lifeboat in a lagoon on the island. Close by the boat, they found oars, wood, a drum, and a copper tank. But the strange part, there was absolutely no trace of any passengers. The boat had no identifiable marks, and therefore it couldn't be tracked back to any nation or shipping company, which was a requirement for boats or lifeboats back in the day. What's even more strange is that 2 years later, another expedition was sent to the island, and the lifeboat and all of the objects around it were gone. To this day, no one knows how the boat got there or what happened to the people who were on it or who they were.
In third place, we have the incident at Dyatlov Pass. On the first night of February 1959, 9 ski hikers had set up camp on a slope in the Russian mountains, enjoyed dinner, and prepared for sleep. But something went catastrophically wrong because the group never returned to civilization. On February 26th, searchers found the hikers' abandoned tent, which had been ripped open from the inside. Surrounding the area were footprints left by the group. Some wearing socks, some wearing a single shoe, some barefoot, all of which continued to the edge of a nearby wood, which is where the first 2 bodies were found. Shoeless and wearing only underwear. The scene bore marks of death by hypothermia, but as medical examiners inventoried the bodies, as well as the other 7 that were discovered over the months that followed, hypothermia was no longer making sense. As a matter of fact, the evidence made no sense at all. One body had evidence of a blunt force trauma, another had third-degree burns, one had been vomiting a red liquid that should still be in their veins, yet another one was missing a tongue, and some of their clothing was found to be radioactive. Alrighty, this is where I would just call it a day and condemn the entire freaking area. That's one too many weird variations to make sense in my brain. Also, anything radioactive? Burn it. Burn it all. Theories about what happened include KGB interference, drug overdose, UFO presence, gravity anomalies, and a Yeti? The most recent theory involves a terrifying but real phenomenon called infrasound, in which the wind interacts with the topography to create a barely audible hum that can induce powerful feelings of nausea, panic, dread, chills, nervousness, raised heartbeat rate, and breathing difficulties. Add that to my list of why I never want to go hiking. Granted, I didn't really want to go hiking in the first place. In second place, we have the Watcher House. In June of 2014, Maria and Derek Broaddus and their 3 spawn were getting ready to move into their new home, 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. They claimed the 6-bedroom house was their dream home, and it just so happened to be located a couple of blocks away from Maria's childhood home in one of the top 30th safest cities in the United States. Sounds a little too good to be true if I'm adding my 2 cents to this. 3 days after closing the sale, before the Broaddus family had even begun to move in, a letter arrived in their new mailbox. The letter was addressed to the new owner in big clunky handwriting and read as follows. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows in 657 Boulevard and at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. Yeah, okay. The letter also mentioned specifics about the Broaddus family, talking about the offspring and that the unknown author had seen them, stating that, so far I think there are 3 that I've counted. Do you need to fill the house with the young I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it agreed to bring me yours? Once I know their names, I will call them and draw them to me. Yeah, okay. Pardon the narrator voice, I just like to differentiate. At the bottom of the letter, the author used a cursive font to sign The Watcher. Okay, this is where I wish I had a red flag to start waving around, so just imagine it in my hand. Okie dokie? After receiving the letter, the Broaddus family reached out to the previous family who had sold them the house, John and Andrea Woods. They stated that during the 23 years of living at 657 Boulevard, they had never received a letter like that except once, a few days before they were getting ready to move out of the house. The Woods family also stated they had never felt watched in the 2 decades they had lived at the house, and in fact, rarely felt the need to lock their door at night. While they thought the note they received was odd, they threw it away without much concern. Red flag notice again. That's something people should know about. Thankfully, the two families went to the police with the letters, and an investigation was opened. The police warned the families not to tell anyone about the letters, including their neighbors who were all suspects. 2 weeks later, even though the Broaddus family still hadn't moved in, they received a second letter with even more chilling specifics about the family, including the offspring's birth order and nicknames. The watcher also asked if the wards would sleep in the attic, or would the entire family sleep on the second floor. Who has bedrooms facing the street? I will know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. This is where I would have done everything in my power to avoid ever going near that place and moving across the country. Nope, 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 nope. Pardon me, stalking and harassment are issues that really get under my skin. Several weeks later, when the Broaddus family had put their plans on hold to move in, a third letter arrived saying, "Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you." Okay, by the end of 2014, the case had stalled completely. There was no digital trail, and the mental effects were taking a toll on the Broaddus family. No kidding! That kind of watching over your shoulder can take a mental toll like you wouldn't believe unless you've gone through it yourself. There were no fingerprints and no way to place somebody at the scene of the crime. Only 6 months after they received the letters, they decided to sell the home. Good on them for doing so. This place has since been sold and is currently off the market, while the watcher's identity still remains a mystery. In first place, we have a case of human combustion. What can I say? I thought I'd end today on a fiery note. On July 2nd of 1951, in St. Petersburg, Florida, Mary Reeser was visited by her son, Dr. Richard Reeser, in her apartment and mentioned during their conversation that she had taken 2 mild sedatives and planned to take 2 more before bed. Hey, whatever helps you sleep. Later that night, she would fall asleep in an upholstered chair for the last time, as she would become the victim of an apparent house fire. The next morning, Mary's landlord reported smelling smoke around 5 a.m. But it wasn't until 8 a.m. when she went to go deliver a telegraph to Mary that she would smell the smoke again. She discovered soot in the hallway, and the doorknob leading to Mary's apartment was too hot to grab, so she enlisted the help of nearby house painters to get into the apartment. What they found inside said apartment was truly horrifying. Mary's skull was reportedly shrunk to the size of a cup, and parts of her spine also remained. Her left foot was found still in its black satin slipper with the skin unburned, but the rest of her remains had been, completely cremated. What makes this case even more odd, because that wasn't odd enough, was the environment of her surroundings. Fun science fact for everyone: in order for a body to be cremated, the body must burn at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 to 4 hours. But somehow the surrounding area of Mary's chair and the rest of her apartment were relatively unaffected. The walls had no burn marks and showed no signs of scorching or burned paint. Light switches were melted, but outlets were still completely functional. Candlesticks had melted, but their wicks stood upright. And a stack of newspapers close to the chair was, undamaged. You know, the easily flammable thing. Mary's neighbors were also unaware of the fire. Look, I can write off a list of things that wouldn't faze me from a neighbor at this point in my life, but the smell of smoke is definitely something I would be freaking out about. The FBI eventually came up with some form of cover-up, but I'm not gonna waste anyone's time with that since it doesn't make any sense. And that brings us to the end of our list.
Number 5, D.B. Cooper. One of the most infamous disappearance cases in history, and I'm gonna be honest, probably my personal favorite unsolved mystery of all time. If you haven't heard the story of the real-life daredevil heister, Mr. D.B. Cooper, you're in for a treat and then some. Depending on your definition of success, you could argue D.B. Cooper might be the most successful criminal in history, since not only did he get off with quite an impressive take, but he got away with all his crimes and avoided capture. If he's still alive, that is. On November 24th, 1971, a man using an alias of Dan Cooper walked up to the ticket counter at Portland International and booked a one-way ticket to Seattle, claiming that he was on business. He was technically correct in that assessment. Once on board the plane, Cooper passed a note to a flight attendant, and he was not asking for an extra bag of peanuts and fluffing his pillow. No, he was just letting the attendant know that he had brought a bomb on board the flight and demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes. And if he caught a whiff of any funny business, he'd turn this plane into a national tragedy on the 6 o'clock news, see? So, you know, nothing unreasonable really. I make all those demands whenever I'm hangry, pretty normal stuff. So the plane landed in Seattle, as originally planned, and authorities were summoned to deliver the ransom money and parachutes to Cooper. The passengers were relieved and eventually let go, but the flight crew was stuck with their new boss, Mr. Cooper, who'd taken them hostage. Cooper seized the plane, planning a flight path to Mexico City, but midway through the flight, Cooper, who was a huge fan of the film Point Break and wanted to pay homage to it, jumped out of a plane with all of the money. D.B. Cooper jumping out of that plane with a suitcase full of money would be the last time anyone ever saw him. He jumped out of that plane and into the stuff of history book legends, the Hall of Fame of heisters. Move over, Payday crew, this guy's got you beat. Despite extensive searching, not a hair of DB Cooper ever turned up. Some speculate rather bluntly that perhaps he miscalculated the angle and splattered somewhere across the northwest and the heist wasn't as impressive as we thought, while others imagined that he got off easy, he's knocking back Mai Tais on a Hawaiian island, enjoying the spoils of his loot. But who was the guy to begin with? A career crook on one last job? Someone trying it out? Someone snapping? Several theories suggest he was ex-military, special forces, which would explain his proficiency. In fact, the leading hypothesis is that he was ex-military. We may never know who the real DB Cooper is, and that's fine. That's the way he'd want it. And if we don't know who he is, it makes it that much more fun for us. He could be any one of us. He could be you. He could be me. He could be... I'll stop talking there. And if you're looking for more scary videos and strange stories out there, we've got all of that and then some. If you can think it up, we've probably done a video or two on it. We've got quite the catalog. So click on through, hit subscribe, and please tickle that little bell and make sure you don't miss a single scream. But would you kindly do that at the end of this video? Because I got 4 more missing persons cases ready for you now. Number 4, the Mary Celeste. Our next mysterious case is a bit of an outlier, a little bit of a cheat. I know. It's not just one person going missing, it's an entire ship. How does that happen? December 1872, the captain of the Mary Celeste, one Benjamin Briggs, cast off to New York to travel to Italy for unknown reasons, but probably for the tomatoes. The ship was kept to a rather tight crew. A staff of 8, plus Briggs's wife and daughter, were enough to man the vessel. The voyage seemed like it went pretty well until another vessel, the Del Gratia, came into contact with the Celeste and were chilled at what they'd found when they recovered the ship drifting aimlessly. As rescuers boarded the ship, they were greeted with a maritime mystery to forever haunt them. The ship seemed to be in perfect working order, no signs of damage or distress. Had it not been found freely floating, they'd assumed the ship was just built. Aside from a single lifeboat missing, the ship was in good condition, the holds stocked with food and water. The crew's personal belongings were scattered about. The table was set for a meal, as if the crew had been minutes away from breaking bread. So what happened? What reasonable captain would abandon a perfectly serviceable, well-stocked ship? Well, reasonable explanations were offered, theories of piracy or mutiny prevailing. Now, the ship being relatively untouched does call into question the notion of piracy, as I don't know how much you know about pirates, but they didn't tend to leave the rum behind if there is any. Any pirate captain worth his salt would have plundered that thing down to the floorboards. And there didn't appear to be any struggle at all, so no forceful evacuation, nobody kicked them off the ship. So with rationale out of the way, we've nowhere left to turn but blind and wild speculation. Theories of supernatural beings, cursed gold, vengeful spirits, sea monsters, Davy Jones. Take your pick of whatever nautical bedtime story you think could have overtaken the Mary Celeste. You know what? Let me know down below. I love pirate ghost stories more than anything. Perhaps it was a bit of sea madness, cabin fever. Maybe it's whatever happened to those 2 guys in the lighthouse happened to them here. No matter how you slice it, the vanishing of the Mary Celeste is a head scratcher of a mystery. More lost souls to the darkness that lurks below the ocean's water. Wary yourselves against the whispers that echo the seas, for the spirits of the Mary Celeste may still be watching, eager to claim another.
At number 3, DB Cooper. In 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, a man claiming to be Dan Cooper boarded Flight 305 in Portland bound for Seattle. While in the air, he opened his briefcase and showed a bomb to a flight attendant, then he proceeded to hijack the plane. The plane then landed in Seattle. Once on the ground, he demanded $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and food. Once he got what he requested, he released the passengers, and he, along with the pilots and flight attendant, took off from Seattle with the marked bills. About 45 minutes after takeoff, they were over Portland and Cooper jumped into the night. Then 9 years later, in 1980, just north of Portland, by the Columbian River, a young boy was digging a fire pit and uncovered 3 bundles of cash. These bills matched the marked serial numbers of the bills that were given to Cooper. That was the last bit of evidence to ever be found about this case, and still to this day, no one knows his true identity or what happened to him. This is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in FBI history. And nothing has been said for years, but just a few months ago, back in January of this year, a startling claim was made to the media that DB Cooper was actually a former CIA operative named Robert Rackshaw. Robert just so happens to be alive and well living in California, but he has yet to be charged with anything. Coming in at number 2, SS Ourang Medan. This is one of the most frightening and mind-boggling death at sea stories out there. In June of 1947, multiple ships were traveling in Strait of Malacca. All of them received a terrifying SOS message from the Dutch ship, the SS Ourang Medan, that read all of the passengers, including the officer, were dead. Possible whole crew dead. The nearest merchant ship, called the Silver Star, traveled to the ship as fast as they could. But upon boarding the Ourang Medan, they were horrified as they realized that every crew member was in fact dead. Their corpses were scattered all over the deck. It was especially haunting as all of the corpses' eyes were open and they had complete looks of terror on their faces. The radio operator was found dead as well, with his fingers still on the Morse sending key. So yes, he died as he was trying to send out this distress signal. What's even stranger is that there were no attack marks found on any of the crew members. The other ship was then going to tow the SS Ourang Medan back to shore, but before they could, smoke began to come up from the deck below, the ship exploded and sank. To this day, the exact fate of the ship's crew remains a mystery. But of course, there have been many theories such as ghosts, hazardous chemicals, and even aliens. But there's still no conclusion as to what actually happened. And at number 1, Jack the Ripper. This name may sound familiar as it has been in many TV shows and movies. This was a man who killed 11 women in London's East End in the late 1800s. The creepiest part about this is that he was never identified. Most of the women he went after were prostitutes. He would mutilate their bodies so badly that they were unrecognizable, and he would slash their throats. This killer would actually then remove organs from these women after he killed them, and it's expected he kept them as trophies. When the murders were taking place, the townspeople were always in constant fear, and a lot of suspicion was going around. The police were forming committees, and the townspeople were forming mobs and attacked people they believed to be the killer. And then after the 11th murder, the killings just all of a sudden stopped. An investigation to find the killer continued on for 3 years, but the police were never able to uncover the identity of Jack the Ripper. The case was officially closed in 1892. However, the interest in the killings never lessened. I mean, after all, we are still talking about it to this day, aren't we?
Coming in at 5, a ghost town. Ever since its very first day, Glastenbury seems to have been a ghost town. In 1761, Bennington drew the boundaries on the map without even setting foot on the land. At the time of Vermont's first census as a new state in 1791, only 6 families inhabited it. These first settlers found life on Glastenbury Mountain difficult, as would residents ever after. By 1800, they had been replaced by 8 entirely different families. Of these 8, only 3 would stay on until the next census 10 years later, and only one of these would remain in later decades. By the late 1880s, however, the mountain had been cleared of nearly all of its mature trees, and the town's economy dipped dramatically. In 1889, the railroad operation ceased. It was revived very briefly in 1894 as an electric passenger trolley run by the Bennington and Woodford Railroad, and a brief and initially promising effort was made to convert South Glastenbury to a tourist attraction. Unfortunately, though, a freshet wiped out the railroad tracks that winter, marking the beginning of the end of Glastenbury as a functioning town. The town was unincorporated by an act of the state legislature in 1937 and is now essentially a ghost town. The population was 8 at the 2010 census. Along with Somerset, Glastenbury is one of the 2 Vermont towns where the population levels have dropped so low that the town is unincorporated. The town has no local government and the town's affairs are handled by a state-appointed supervisor. Coming in at 4, strange occurrences. Reports of strange lights in the sky and sounds with no explanation have constantly been reported in the Bennington Triangle area. These reports have led to speculation that there are UFOs and perhaps wormholes in the area. However, the strangest report may very well be that of the Bennington Monster. Thought to be an early Bigfoot, the monster has been described as well over 6 feet tall, with hair from its head to its toes. The first sighting was reported in the early 19th century when it supposedly rushed a stagecoach on a washed-out road. The beast apparently knocked the stagecoach onto its side and fled into the dark with a roar. In 1967, another monster would appear on the mountain, the wild man of Glastenbury who lived in a cave near Somerset. Reports say that he would often descend into nearby Glastenbury in the Bennington Triangle in order to harass women. He did this by pulling open his coat and revealing his naked body while waving around a gun and scaring off anyone who would stop him. However, things didn't end there. In 1892, a sawmill worker, Henry McDowell, drunkenly bludgeoned a co-worker to death with a rock after he heard heard voices telling him to attack. He was ultimately committed to an asylum but managed to escape and just vanished.
Number 3. Frederick Valentich. Our next mysterious case is Frederick Valentich, an Australian pilot, a well-trained aerial ace. He had 150 hours of manned flight experience and was permitted to fly alone, provided it was in good weather conditions. He also had a love of extraterrestrial life, a deep desire to find that unknown above. Well, Valentich might have got his wish. Tragically, it might have cost him his life. The year was 1978. Frederick Valentich was performing a 125 nautical mile training flight flying to a small landmass called Kings Island. While at 4,500 feet in the air, Valentich thought he had seen something with him. The Melbourne Flight Service insisted that there wasn't anything in the air with him, but Frederick radioed back and said that there was something on his tail. He claimed that he saw something glowing with 4 repeating bright lights and was rushing past him, and he described it as shiny, metallic, and chrome and looking like a small manned craft. Now, unsure what was happening, Valentich on radio to ground control told them that he was experiencing engine troubles inexplicably. Could this strange flying object be the source of these unexpected problems? Valentich complained out about whatever was following him to the Melbourne Flight Service, saying, "It's hovering and it's not an aircraft." Those would be the last words anyone ever heard from Frederick. Minutes after that last transmission, he went silent and the plane, or the mysterious craft, was never found. An intense search revealed nothing. No sign of the man. The only lead was a local farmer alleging that the day Frederick disappeared, he saw what looked like a civilian aircraft seemingly fused with what looked like a saucer. The farmer told authorities he was worried about being dismissed as a crackpot, so he didn't tell anyone what he saw that day. What do you think? Should he have checked his eyes better? Or was he perhaps the last person to see the remnant of Frederick Valentich before he was carried off into who knows what? Number 2. Michael Rockefeller. When Michael Rockefeller was born, he was born with a silver spoon to a lineage of millionaires in the late 1930s. His great-grandfather, one John Rockefeller, is one of the richest men to have ever lived. The Rockefellers had hoped that Michael would follow them in the family business. Michael, however, had other ideas and wanted to use his millions of dollars to goof off and take it easy, which is what most of us would, I think. Michael had wanderlust in his heart and a deep interest in anthropology, specifically focused on Nigerian, Mayan, and Aztec cultures. Michael's father sat on a board of a museum in New York where Michael would discover this passion, hoping to one day open a collection of indigenous art in New York. After some discussions with the Dutch Museum of Ethnology, terrible name, Michael had decided he would set out to the massive island off the coast of Australia, at the time known as Dutch New Guinea. In 1961, he set off to collect the art of the Asmat people who lived there. It would be a one-way trip. The Asmat people that he was going to study were very disconnected from the rest of the world. They had previously seen Dutch colonizers, but otherwise they weren't getting a ton of visitors. The Asmat believed that the land beyond their island was inhabited by spirits, and they saw the Euros and the Americans as supernatural beings that had come over from across the sea. Michael and his team were allowed to study the people, but were banned from purchasing or taking anything, which held a great deal of significance to the Asmat. Nonetheless, Michael was thrilled with everything he'd been finding and could not wait to open his exhibit. In November 1961, Michael was on a boat accompanied by other anthropologists when a sudden squall threw the boat off its course. 12 miles away from the shore, but Michael insisted he could swim for it, and he was never seen again. The Rockefellers would spend the next few months spending a small fortune trying to find Michael, but gave up after never uncovering anything. The case went cold for years, but officers believed that Michael hadn't been lost to the water, but was rather offered as part of a sacrifice. His head chopped off, his flesh eaten, his bones made into weaponry, you know. Fun stuff. An investigator, one Carl Hoffman, uncovered this while filming the Asmat people. He saw a group of men acting out a scene, miming the act of, removing someone's head from the rest of their neck and attacking them with spears. Now, we can't really find this footage, but through interpretation and translation was a stern warning to the other villagers that Hoffman reported. Pop your ears open and take a listen. Don't you tell this story to any other man. I hope you remember it and you must keep this for us. I hope this is for you and you only. Don't talk to anyone, to other people, or another village. If people question you, don't answer. Don't talk to them because the story is only for you. If you tell it to them, you'll die. or any other village because the story is only for us. I probably shouldn't have shared it just then. Now, maybe just scrub that. Number 1, Lars Mittank. Lars Mittank is a young German man who became infamous in 2014 when his disappearance captured the attention of the world. Last seen on airport security footage, he's been called the most famous missing person on YouTube. Wow, isn't that a lovely title? I'd put that right on my resume. In July 2014, Mittank was vacationing in Varna, Bulgaria, I've heard lovely things, with a group of friends. Apparently things were pretty unremarkable until an argument about football at a bar turned into a brawl. You see, Mittank was a Bremen man and he was getting into an argument with some nasty Bayern fans. I actually don't know nothing about German football. Clear that up in the comments. Mittank would suffer a ruptured eardrum and was told to stay on the ground, for flying could damage his ears even further. So Lars decided to stay in Varna just a little bit longer while the rest of the party would return back to Berlin. Now here's where things take a turn for the strange. CCTV footage from the airport shows Lars behaving strangely, for lack of a better word. Dropping his luggage, running in a sprint, hopping a fence, the kind of things you would do if you were running away from somebody. His final texts warned his mother to cancel his credit cards as he believed he was being pursued. This footage was the last time he was ever seen, as he vanished without a trace shortly thereafter. Both German and Bulgarian authorities launched investigations, but nobody found anything. Hospital records turned up nothing, and outside of a few disconnected sightings of alleged hitchhikers which could have matched descriptions, nothing was ever outright confirmed. So what happened? What happened? There are theories. Some speculate perhaps that the medication he was prescribed was causing a psychological breakdown, combined with the paranoia of being attacked and reeling from the attack earlier in the week. The doctor who prescribed that medication, though, noted he never even filed the prescription, and the doctor was perplexed and concerned with the seemingly causeless change of behavior.
Kicking off at number 5, Omm Sety. And this is an incredibly interesting case because if the implications are true, then it exists in 2 separate timelines, both the early 20th century and, believe it or not, in late 1200 BC. Let me explain. On January 16th, 1904, a girl by the name of Dorothy Eady was born in the London suburb of Blackheath to 2 Irish middle-class parents, Reuben Eady and Master Taylor, and her mother, Caroline Eady. At the age of 3, Dorothy suffered a terrible fall from a flight of stairs that by all rights should have killed her, but after she had recovered in hospital, in the years that followed, she started to exhibit strange behaviours. She suddenly had developed a keen interest in ancient Egypt and began talking in a strange, otherworldly accent. At Catholic school, she was thrown out for declaring her love for Osiris and her longing to return to what she referred to as the old religion. After being taken by her parents to the British Museum, she saw a photograph of the New Kingdom Temple and loudly declared, "This is my home, but where are all the trees? Where is the garden?" It turned out that the photograph was the temple of Seti I, the father of Ramses the Great. Dorothy became transfixed with the museum and would visit every day, claiming that she was back amongst her peoples. In her later life, she would become heavily involved in the study of Egyptology, where she moved to Cairo and changed her name to Omm Sety. This is where it gets crazy, because she then claimed that over a 12-month period, she was visited by an apparition known as Hor-Ra. In perfect hieroglyphics, she wrote a 70-page text dictating her former life as a priestess at the Temple of Seti. And despite pretty much every attempt to trip her up, her story was terrifyingly accurate. So much so that the garden that she claimed existed as a child turned out actually did. She led archaeologists to a site in the temple ruins, and excavations uncovered a garden that perfectly matched her descriptions. Pretty spooky, right? Next up at number 4, the Antikythera mechanism. If you know anything about the legendary Antikythera mechanism, then you'll know that it's pretty much baffled scientists since its discovery way back in 1901. Now, it may look like some kind of weird piece of ancient metal, but the real kicker is that the Antikythera mechanism appears to be the first instance of an analog computer that, get this, potentially dates back to 200 BC. It was found amongst the wreckage retrieved off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera, and it is believed to have been designed and constructed by ancient Greek scientists. But what exactly were the ancient Greeks doing with a clockwork computer? Well, it appears that they may have been scanning the stars. The device itself is a series of complex clockwork mechanisms comprised of at least 30 meshing bronze gears. Now, detailed imaging of the mechanism suggests that it had 37 gear wheels that enabled it to follow the movements of the moon and sun throughout the zodiac, and could predict eclipses to pinpoint accuracy and even model the irregular orbit of our moon. What is absolutely crazy about the Antikythera mechanism is that the knowledge of this technology was evidently lost at some point in antiquity, and anything even remotely correlating to its design didn't appear again until the development of mechanical astronomical clocks in Europe in, get this, the 14th century. It is living proof that our ancient ancestors had a much more capable grasp on the mysteries of our existence than anyone has ever expected. If only the Library of Alexandria hadn't burned down.
In at number 3, the disappearances. The Bennington Triangle's most enduring mystery surround the disappearances that plagued the area between 1945 to 1950. During that time period, several people vanished on or near Glastenbury Mountain. The first to disappear was a 75-year-old man named Mitty Rivers, who served as a mountain guide. He was leading a group back to their camp in November 1945 when he got too far ahead of them and out of sight. In that short amount of time, he vanished into thin air. Now, it is unlikely that he became lost considering he was an experienced mountain guide, however, that still doesn't negate the fact that he was never seen again. Paula Jean Weldon disappeared next at the age of just 18 years old on December 1st, 1946. Weldon was a sophomore at Bennington College. She had set out on a hike on the Long Trail and was alleged to have been seen on the trail itself by an elderly couple who were about 100 yards behind her. According to them, she turned a corner in the trail and then she was gone. A search was conducted but no remains or evidence was ever found. Next was James Tedford, a veteran who went missing on December 1st, 1949, exactly 3 years after Paula Weldon disappeared. He was a resident of the Bennington Soldiers' Home and had been visiting relatives and was returning home on the local bus when he vanished. According to witnesses, Tedford got on the bus and remained on the bus until the last stop before Bennington. However, somewhere between the last stop and Bennington, Tedford vanished. His belongings were still in the luggage rack and an open bus timetable was on his vacant seat. The fourth person to disappear was 8-year-old Paul Jepson on October 12, 1950. He had accompanied his mother in a truck, during which time she left her son unattended while she fed some pigs. His mother was gone for around an hour, and when she returned, her son was nowhere in sight. The fifth and final disappearance occurred 16 days later, on October 28, 1950. Frida Langer, 53, and her cousin Herbert Elsner left their family campsite to go on a hike. During the hike, Langer slipped and fell into the stream. She told Elsner to wait and she would go back to the campsite to change her clothes. However, she didn't return. On May 12, 1951, though, her body was found near Somerset Reservoir, in an area that had been extensively searched several months prior. No cause of death was determined. In at 2, lost and found. As I previously stated, only one body was ever recovered from the disappearances on the mountain, that being Frida Langer's, which was found the following May. Search parties conducted extensive searches, heavily combed the field she was found in, leading authorities to assume that there was indeed foul play. However, upon discovering her body, decomposition had already set in, limiting insight into her cause of death. However, it was the advanced decomposition which only served to further the mystery. More suspicious still was that Langer was the only body to be found. It has been noted that although there are dangerous wildlife on Glastenbury Mountain, an attack would definitely leave behind a ton of evidence, because as we know, bears don't typically swallow a person whole. The fact that there was zero evidence left behind frustrated authorities, with both Weldon and Jepson wearing bright red coats that would be easy to spot. Not to mention, Rivers and Langer disappeared seemingly into thin air without being too far away from other people. However, the strangest occurrence was that of Tedford, who seemed to have just disappeared into thin air on a moving bus that no one saw him leave. Weird. And finally, coming in at number 1, serial killer. The pattern of disappearances in the Bennington Triangle has led some folks to speculate that a serial killer was responsible. All of the people I previously mentioned who vanished did so within the winter, suggesting that something other than coincidence was at play. The first disappearance happened without a trace, and Langer's body was found in a location that had previously been searched. Perhaps the serial killer was on the loose and was incredibly successful at abducting and killing people near the highway or on the mountainside. And perhaps, like many serial killers, they were showing off when they placed Langer's body back out into the open following the extensive search already done in the location. It would also make sense why no traces have ever been found of any of the victims. However, saying that, it would be incredibly risky for a serial killer to abduct people in plain sight and near witnesses. especially on a moving bus, which in turn has left a lot of doubts in people's minds. Perhaps it was something more supernatural. However, that explanation tends to lack substance. When newspapers first reported on the Bennington Triangle, the explanation was tied into Native American legends. However, in the 1990s there was a shift towards UFOs and other ideas popularized by the X-Files. Regardless, we may never find out what truly went on in the Bennington Triangle.
Number 5. The wow signal. We want so badly for aliens to talk to us. We want that more than anything. We've been looking for any sign, no matter how small, that there's intelligent life out there just waiting to come find us. And we will take just about anything at this point. A text, an emoji, maybe just a wow.
Wow.
Well, we might have already had that. See if you get wowed by the story of the wow signal. And can we throw just one Owen Wilson wow in here just for me, Wow. In 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a mysterious signal that lasted for 72 seconds. This signal was so strong and unusual that the astronomer who was watching it wrote wow on the printout. No, the aliens didn't send wow, but that would have been way better. This became known as the wow signal, and it remains one of the most interesting pieces of evidence out there in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Now, this signal was detected by the Big Ear radio telescope, which was up there in space looking for radio signals as part of the SETI program. We've talked about that before on the channel. It stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. The signal was very strong and appeared to be coming from a point in the sky near the constellation Sagittarius. I'm an Aquarius personally. The frequency of the signal was consistent with what would be expected from hydrogen atoms that had been accelerated to high speeds. See, I don't know what that means. Despite numerous attempts to detect the signal again, it's never been observed since. This has led to much speculation about its origin and nature. Now, some scientists have suggested that the signal could be proof of extraterrestrial intelligence, some small sign. While there are others, Scullies of the world who might be doubting a little bit. Others have proposed more mundane explanations such as a natural phenomenon or a human-made satellite, but I think we would all deeply prefer it would be aliens. No, it would be a much more interesting end to the story. The wow signal remains one of the greatest mysteries in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It raises so many questions about the nature of our universe and our place in it. Will we ever solve the mystery of the wow signal? Could it really just have been Owen Wilson and we're radiating back that energy? We may never know. But if you're looking for way more mysteries about space, well, Top 5 Scary is the place to be. We've got more videos on space mysteries than there are stars in the sky. And if space mysteries aren't your jam, we got cryptids, conspiracies, true crime, just about anything freaky you can think up, we've done a video on it. So hit subscribe, hit that little bell as well if you're feeling so frisky, and make sure you don't miss a single scream. But hey, do that at the end of this video for me, okay? We got way more space mysteries coming up for you right now. Number 4, the Great Attractor. The Great Attractor. I wish that's what they called me. That is not what they called me in high school though. Do you ever feel like you're being pushed through life, pulled towards a certain path you might not necessarily want? Well, talk to your parents and sort out your life path, but you could be feeling that way because the way our galaxy is being pulled towards something called the Great Attractor, which sounds a lot more ominous than it should, I think. That sounds kind of heavy, so let's get into this. What is pulling our galaxy and many others at faster speeds than you'd think? The Great Attractor is a mysterious gravitational anomaly located in the direction of the Centaurus constellation. It's exerting a gravitational force on our galaxy, where we live, where all our stuff is, and many other galaxies, and its exact nature and location remain uncomfortably unknown. The existence of this thing was first brought up in the 70s, when astronomers noticed that galaxies in our sort of galaxy neighborhood appeared to be moving in a direction that could not be explained by the gravity of nearby objects. Instead, they were being pulled towards a point in the sky in the direction of the Centaurus constellation. Pretty weird. Now, the Great Attractor is thought to be a massive cluster of galaxies, a big galaxy suburb, if you will. But its exact location and composition remain currently unknown. It's obscured by the Milky Way's dust and gas, making it kind of hard to get a good look at it and study. Astronomers have tried their hardest, trying to map the distribution of galaxies, trying to determine its location and structure, but like I said, it's pretty difficult and not too much progress has been made. One of the more unsettling aspects of the Great Attractor I find is that it's located in a region of space known as the zone of avoidance. This is an area of the sky that's difficult to observe due to all that dust and gas like I mentioned before, and it's also what my therapist used to call my bedroom.
Swinging in at number 3, the Amber Room. Now, as far as ancient mysteries go, this one is perhaps the most recent, although the design and creation of the mysterious Amber Room dates back to the early 17th century. Now, the precious gemstone of amber has enthralled Europeans for countless generations, and in particular the Russian aristocracy, so much so that in 1716 Peter the Great was gifted an entire room built out of the stuff to celebrate the peace between Russia and Prussia. It was originally installed at the Charlottenburg Palace, home of Frederick I, the first king of Prussia, and Peter the Great loved it so much that Friedrich was like, "You can have it, bud, we're friends now." The room consisted of 180 square feet of pure decadence, glowing with over 6 tons of amber, which were backed with panels upon panels of gold leaf. Today, historians estimate that the original Amber Room would have been worth over $142 million, and is often considered to be the 8th wonder of the world. So, where is it? Well, of course, in 1941, Adolf Hitler initiated Operation Barbarossa, and 3 million German soldiers ravaged their way into the Soviet Union. Inevitably, the Amber Room was seized, tore down by German troops, packed up into 27 crates and shipped back to Germany, where it was on display at Königsberg Castle until 1943. But in the final months of that year, the end of the war was in sight, and the Amber Room was dismantled, ready to ship away in case the castle was destroyed by Allied forces. That's where the case goes cold, and the trail of the Amber Room was lost to history. Some say that the Amber Room is still hidden within the ruins of the castle, others believe it to have been straight up destroyed in the bombings. There are those that claim it was loaded onto a ship and can be found somewhere at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. The truth remains that we may never know, but it's one of history's most mysterious treasures. Next up at number 2, the fall of Angkor Wat. Now, the fall of the Khmer Empire, a highly advanced state-level society that proliferated in mainland Southeast Asia between the 9th and 15th centuries AD, has puzzled both archaeologists and historians for decades, culminating in the majestic ruins of its capital city, Angkor Wat. The Khmer Empire were incredibly advanced for their time and were noted for their enormous monumental architecture and their extensive trade partnership between India, China, and the rest of the world. They had a massive road system, evidence of advanced agricultural technology, and were most of all famous for their highly complex hydrological system that took advantage of the region's monsoonal complex, efficiently carving out a civilization in a tropical rainforest. Now, the traditional date for the empire's collapse is 1431, when Angkor Wat was sacked by the rival kingdom of Siam. But the reality of it is, no one really knows. Seemingly, while evidence suggests pockets of the empire remained, for the most part, they just disappeared. However, there may be an equally terrifying reason for their demise. Angkor Wat was constructed as a hydraulic city. It was a demonstration of ingenious technology that harnessed water and flow from the Siem Reap River in a highly advanced manner. But one of the leading theories of Angkor Wat's demise is suggestive evidence of a massive flood. Now, a flood of such stature doesn't seem to appear in any recorded annals of the time, but evidence of extensive water damage to the masonry is the only clue that historians have. Flash flood? Yeah, more than likely, but what caused it? That's anyone's guess. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, the Bimini Road. And talking of water, our final entry is completely submerged in the stuff, as in it lies at the bottom of the ocean bed just off the coast of the Bahamas. And what is it? Well, it's a road seemingly constructed from sub-rectangular limestone blocks that spans half a mile 18 feet below the water. Yeah, and what's it doing there? Well, you bet no one has a clue, as in really no one has any idea how it got there or even what it is, despite over 50 years of extensive research. The Bimini Road has been examined by geologists, archaeologists of all kind, anthropologists, marine engineers, pretty much anyone and everyone with any ancient underwater credibility, all of which have shrugged their shoulders at any reasonable explanation. Well, first off, how old is it? Again, no one knows, despite irregularities in carbon dating from various other materials from the area, which has split researchers into 2 camps. Proponents of the road being man-made, and those that believe it is a natural geological occurrence. Now, usually geologists are pretty damn good at pinpointing the age of any given mineral, but not with the Bimini Road, as carbon datings have varied widely from being 1500, 3000, and 15,000 years old. Listen guys, there are so many potential consequences to the the implications of the Bimini Road. It could just be nothing at all, a weird freak collection of rocks, but it also could be evidence of a larger settlement long lost to the deep blue sea, and the fact that numerous credible researchers from both camps can't come to an agreement is reason enough to give the Bimini Road some kind of thought. Well, I'll leave this one in your hands, horror fans. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. The Bimini Road, man. What is it?
Number 5, is there life beyond Earth? Now, while today we're exclusively talking about NASA's perspective on things, I'm a firm believer that aliens are out there somewhere, possibly poking their head near Earth from, time to time, watching us be, well, idiots. Every week it's getting a lot easier to believe in aliens. If you haven't been keeping up with all the government whistleblower stuff, I'd recommend looking into it like ASAP. Especially the David Grush whistleblower reports. Easily some of the most credible reporting that's ever happened when it comes to this out of the world stuff. No matter how improbable the origin of life on Earth may have been, and I promise I will get to that, there should, in theory, be many other living planets in the universe. Look, there are about 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe, each containing tens of billions of stars. Many of these stars have planets, so even if life only forms on one planet out of every trillion, the number of life-bearing planets in the universe should be, according to my calculations, a lot. I wasn't good at math in high school, and I'm still not good at it now, but trust me, the science says there should be quite a few. Feel free to do the math for yourself. In our own solar system, a few locations appear to be hospitable to microbial life. The planet Mars, the subsurface ocean of Europa, which is one of Jupiter's Galilean moons, and maybe the warm interior of Saturn's satellite Enceladus. I swear I looked up how to pronounce that one, but if I butchered it, I blame the headache I've had all day. Mars is pretty popular for theories of Martians, be it previous beings who lived there or current elusive populations. The discovery of Martian bacteria, either extant or extinct, would immediately tell astrobiologists that life is extremely common in the universe. So far, however, nothing has been found, although there's plenty of evidence that Mars was warmer and wetter in its distant past. Casting their wets a little bit wider, astronomers are just starting to sniff out the atmosphere of exoplanets, which is a whole other can of worms. I only just learned about them this year, and that's a whole other video. But an exoplanet or extrasolar planet is a planet outside of the solar system. The first possible evidence of an exoplanet was noted in 1917, but was not recognized as such, making the first confirmation of detection happening officially in 1992. A different planet, initially detected in 1988, was confirmed in 2003. As you know, of the time of my chattering today, there are 5,484 confirmed exoplanets in 4,047 planetary systems, with 875 systems having more than one planet. Not to overstate the obvious, but that's a lot. And I'm pretty sure that's without counting the planets that have been swallowed by black holes. If a planet's atmosphere turns out to contain substantial quantities of oxygen and methane, it's almost certain it must have living organisms on its surface. On Earth, it took billions of years for life to evolve from single cellular organisms to anything bigger than the itty-bitty Annabelle doll that was on my desk. Looking for microbial life may therefore give us the best chance of success. On the other hand, that restricts the search to planetary systems in our immediate neighborhood. That's why some researchers are trying to eavesdrop on the radio communications of alien civilizations. If they exist, they could be picked up from the other side of the Milky Way, but that assumes that the biological evolution of life necessarily leads to intelligence and technology. For now, no matter how likely the existence of extraterrestrial life seems, it is still technically an unproven hypothesis. I doubt how much longer though, with how many whistleblowers and informants coming forward. Number 4, the Big Bang Theory. Alrighty, I'll allow a single moment for everyone to mentally let the Bare Naked Ladies theme song from the popular sitcom run through their head. And moment over. The theory is the leading explanation for how the universe began. I think the easiest way to explain it is that it says the universe as we know it started with an infinitely hot and dense single point that inflated and stretched, first at unimaginable speeds and then at a more measurable rate over the next 13.7 billion years to the still expanding cosmos that we know today. Existing technology doesn't yet allow astronomers to literally peer back at the universe's birth, meaning much of what we understand about the Big Bang comes from mathematical formulas and models. If you want to look up the formulas, that's entirely up to you. I'm not even going to try to break those down because knowing me, I'd get lost partway through and then I'd be finding my way back for the rest of today's video. But after all that, it's still only a theory. To find out the cause of the Big Bang, you assume a prior event that apparently had a universe-spawning effect. Perhaps the Big Bang not only amounted to the creation of matter and energy, but also the origin of space and time itself. In that case, it's difficult to talk about a logical cause. This is heavy philosophical stuff, so it's hardly surprising that cosmologists have tried to circumvent the spontaneous creation of a universe out of nothing. Until recently, some scientists held the view that the universe would someday recollapse, eventually leading to another bang. But we've since learned that the current expansion of the universe will probably never stop, so that idea went away. Instead, some physicists suggest that the Big Bang was caused by our empty four-dimensional space-time colliding with another universe that floats next to ours in a higher dimensional bulk space. Experts still don't have a singular reason as to what caused the bang, if it's even true, so feel free to debate your take on the theory and what you believe in the comments.
Number 3, the Black Knight Satellite. The Black Knight Satellite sounds like it's something out of the latest Marvel movie where I think all the heroes and villains will fly up to have their big CGI smash them up. But it's actually the name of a mysterious object that is purported to be orbiting the planet and is host to some very colorful and fun conspiracy theories that we're going to dive into. The Black Knight Satellite conspiracy is a very intriguing and mysterious one related to what we got going on up there. It started back in 1954 when newspapers around the world reported that 2 US Air Force pilots spotted a mysterious object in orbit around Earth. If you follow those reports, the object was about 13,000 years old and appeared to be transmitting radio signals. Now since then, there have been numerous alleged sightings and claims of radio signals received from the Black Knight satellite. Some conspiracy theorists believe the object is an ancient alien spacecraft sent to observe and monitor Earth from up high. Others believe it is some secret government satellite, or the really wild ones is that it's a remnant of a lost ancient civilization, the Anunnaki or something if you want to throw your hat into that conspiracy ring. There are, of course, many people who dismiss all of this as just misinterpretations of natural phenomena, which, again, extremely possible whenever we're describing anything weird happening in space, but it is very fun to imagine and to play pretend, so we'll keep talking like that. The Black Knight satellite is capturing the imaginations of people who believe in it, and I think that's fun to talk about. There are some wild conspiracists who even say that the US and other governments have a big, secret cover-up about what really is going on there, if it's actually aliens watching from up high or a secret government surveillance project, who knows? Now, one of the more interesting pieces of evidence for the satellite is a series of photographs taken by NASA during the STS-88 mission in 1998. These photographs appear to show a large metallic object orbiting around the Earth, but no surprise, NASA has dismissed these claims, saying the object is nothing more than debris or a reflection from the shuttle's windows. So despite there not really being much evidence, the Black Knight satellite will continue to fascinate us and intrigue us. Number 2, the dark side of the moon. Also known as the far side of the moon, and one of the better Pink Floyd albums, and if you haven't set it up to Wizard of Oz, oh, you just gotta. The dark side of the moon has been a source of fascination and mystery for space enthusiasts and the plot line of one of the worst Transformers movies. One of the worst Transformers movies, as if there's a good one. It's the side of the moon that is never visible from Earth, and as a result, we know very little about it. This lack of knowledge has given rise to all sorts of fun and crazy conspiracy theories, ranging from kind of plausible to totally nuts. One of the more popular ones is that there are alien structures or bases on the dark side of the moon. Maybe some cool relics, like something out of 2001. Some conspiracy theorists believe that NASA and other space agencies have been covering up evidence of all these things, pulling the wool over our eyes. Again, this is literally the plot of the third Transformers movies, where there was Decepticons on the moon. It's around when they started getting really crazy. Conspiracists point to anomalies in photographs taken by missions to the moon, such as the Apollo missions, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, as evidence of these secret alien going-ons on the dark side of the moon. Another theory, and an insane one, is that the moon holds ancient artifacts or evidence of a long-lost civilization. Some people believe that these artifacts could hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe, or even provide evidence of alien life. Now, if we really want to get out there, some conspiracy theorists believe that there are dark forces or malevolent entities lurking on the dark side of the moon. We're talking ethereal shadow creatures, old gods that would have kept H.P. Lovecraft up at night. And these things could be responsible for all the unexplained phenomena or UFO sightings or mysterious goings-ons in space that we can't explain. It's all old tentacle gods up on the dark side of the moon. Or it could be perfectly explainable. Explainable? Or it could be perfectly explainable. One of the two. They don't hire me for my intellects, tell you that much. They don't hire me for my brain. They hire me because I say words into a camera. And I don't even do that right sometimes. Number 1, space snakes. I've talked about Story Musgrave a few times on this channel, and I'll probably do it again. Namely because his name is Story Musgrave. That is a wild name for an astronaut to have. That's like a Star Wars guy name. Maybe it's fitting then that this man so vehemently claims that he's run into aliens before. Story is, if you'll pardon this pun, a very storied individual who's been to space multiple times and is now an Imagineer at Disney. So I feel like if aliens were going to appear to anyone as an envoy, it would be an astronaut with ties to the most powerful corporation on Earth. Musgrave is a well-respected astronaut. He's been to space 6 times and he spent 1,200 hours in space, so he might know a thing or two. So when he says he's seeing aliens, we prick our ears up a little bit. According to Musgrave, he saw space snakes that were long black objects that looked like they were swimming around in space. He described them as being about 3 to 4 feet with a metallic sort of biomechanical appearance. Think like H.R. Giger's Alien. And he said he saw these things multiple times. NASA has not really commented on this. They didn't put out a press beacon where they said yay aliens or nay aliens. They just kind of ignored it altogether. Now some experts suggested space snakes could have been debris or ice particles that were reflecting light, while others, and I think this is kind of fun, suggested that it could have just been a hallucination caused by the effects of spaceflight on the human brain. I feel like that particular brand of skepticism is not one you ever hear much when decrying UFO or alien sightings. We never just say, oh, he was probably hallucinating. Me, personally, I don't know. I'm inclined to trust a guy named Story Musgrave. I trust a man who's up in space so many times. It's intriguing, but it is unverified. He says he's seen them multiple times, which I think is kind of interesting. Is there a higher entity trying to contact him? We may never know.
Number 5, green flash. No. The green flash is not referring to one of the many flash variations that CW keeps throwing at us. The green flash refers to a glowing green light that can occasionally be seen on the horizon at sunrise and sunset. Green flashes can be seen from any altitude, so long as you have a clear view of the horizon. They're usually seen on the ocean's horizon, but they have also been spotted over cloud tops and mountaintops as well. Though they can be spotted from any latitude, the flashes do not last long, and you would have to be looking at the exact right moment, as they last less than a second. Before the phenomenon was explained, many people thought that it was some sort of alien ship moving faster than the speed of light. But thanks to the power of the scientific method, researchers were able to provide everyone with an answer as to what the green flash's origin is. I'm gonna say the official explanation and then break it down so it's easier to follow. The green flash occurs because the atmosphere causes the light from the sun to separate or refract into different frequencies. Green flashes are enhanced by mirages, which increase refraction. The blue component of the sun's light is the last to disappear below the horizon, but the blue is preferentially scattered out of the line of sight, and the remaining light ends up appearing green. Okay, so that sounds like gibberish. Let's break it down. The gases in our atmosphere may cause the light from the sun to separate. Think of like the triangle with the rainbow, or change directions into different frequencies. Think of our atmosphere as the triangle. They are then enhanced by mirages, which is when light rays are bent to create multiple or distorted images of an object. The mirages further increase the bending or redirection of the light. The light does not appear as blue like the sky or ocean because the light's frequency is being scattered through a process commonly known as Rayleigh scattering. I'm not a physicist, so I don't understand it, but if any of you guys know, leave a comment, please. And that is how the green flash exists. Confusing, yes, but still amazing. Honestly, the first time I went through the explanation, I started thinking how much easier it would be to just say it was a spaceship. But no, you guys mean way too much to me. Number 4, volcanic lightning. Because this is still the scary channel, I dropped my section on rainbow clouds and exchanged it for the much scarier volcanic lightning, also known as dirty thunderstorms. But I don't like the way that dirty thunderstorms sound, so I will be calling it by the much cooler name, volcanic lightning. Volcanic lightning was first recorded in 79 AD by Pliny the Younger, who said, "There was a most intense darkness rendered more appalling by the fitful gleam of torches at intervals obscured by the transient blaze of lightning." Although Pliny's writing sounds almost nonsensical to most people now, me included, the visual that he was able to draw was incredible. The first studies of volcanic lightning were conducted at Mount Vesuvius, and they took place from 1858 to 1872. Researchers studied about 4 eruptions over the large span of time. Volcanic lightning is an electrical discharge caused by a volcanic eruption, opposed to a regular thunderstorm. The lightning comes from colliding fragmenting particles of volcanic volcanic ash and sometimes ice, which generates static electricity within the volcanic plume. Moist atmospheric convection and ice formations also help to trigger the volcanic lightning. But unlike your normal thunderstorm, volcanic lightning storms can happen before any ice crystals have formed in the ash cloud. There are many different ways that the lightning can charge. There's ice charging, frictional charging, radioactive charging, fractal emission, and there's also factors like plume height. Ice charging is the process that ordinary thunderstorms use to produce lightning, as water clouds become electrified from colliding ice crystals and falling rain, snow, or hail. So, when it's colder, there's more charge from the ice. Frictional charging is fairly self-explanatory. It's when the different particles and debris collide into each other and create high volumes of static electricity. It's similar to ice charging. Radioactive charging is far too hard to explain, so forget I mentioned it, but Google it. It is interesting. Fractal emission is the generation of charge through the breaking up of rock particles, like the volcano's rocks cracking. The height of the plume also plays a big factor in the power of the storm. Taller plumes may have a large concentration of water, which will contribute to lightning activity, while shorter plumes receive more of their charge from fractal emissions. Volcanic lightning has been sighted at Mount Augustine in Alaska, Mount Etna in Sicily, Taal Volcano in the Philippines, and at an Iceland volcano that I cannot pronounce. So, if you have the urge to witness a terrifying phenomenon in person, head over at the exact time with the exact conditions, and you may just be fortunate enough to witness a dirty thunderstorm.
Number 3, did inflation happen? Obviously, I'm not talking about financials. The housing market and grocery chains have very much inflated over the last couple of years, and my goal of possibly owning a 2-bedroom condo in my city keeps slipping farther away, even with work in 6 to 7 days every week. The theory says that inflation was an extremely brief burst of exponential growth at the start of the universe. Within a tiny fraction of a second, the universe doubled its size 100 times in succession before settling down in the much more sedate expansion it has experienced ever since. This rapid inflation, fueled by a mysterious form of energy that permeated empty space itself, left the universe pretty desolate and chilly. Only after that did the hot, dense conditions of the Big Bang emerge. As the doubling of the universe ceased, the energy of the vacuum underwent a metamorphosis, transforming into particles of matter and radiation. That metamorphosis flooded space with the superhot plasma of the Big Bang, which forged the primordial elements that went on to make the stars and galaxies we see today. I can hear y'all now, but Alexa, did it actually happen? Maybe. Inflation was greeted by cosmologists as a solution to the annoying problem that asked how could the universe be so homogeneous if remote parts were never in touch with each other? The possible answer is that it blew up from the size of a subatomic particle to the size of a grapefruit, so our observable universe, now some 27 billion light years across, was small enough for any inhomogeneities to be ironed out. Moreover, inflation explains why the large-scale curvature of our universe appears to be zero. Despite this theory, there's very little direct evidence for inflation. Space inflation, that is. Number 2. What ingredients make up our universe? The short answer is super easy. No bleeping idea. The familiar matter that we do know about, atoms and molecules, is just the tip of this crazy iceberg. By far the largest amount of matter is dark and consists of unknown particles. If that wasn't mysterious enough, the vacuum of empty space is filled with a mysterious dark energy that accelerates the expansion of the universe. We're not only missing the bulk of the iceberg, we also know zilch about the dark ocean in which it floats. Dark matter reveals its presence by its gravitational influence. This can be seen in observations of the rotational velocities of galaxies, the motions of those galaxies in giant clusters, and the way the gravity of the clusters bends the light from the background objects, which is observed during gravitational lensing. All suggest that the total amount of matter in the universe is about 30 times more than what can be seen with telescopes. So, maybe could dark matter be accounted for by dim stars, cold gas clouds, and black holes? Nah, not even close to that easy. If all the dark matter were composed of baryons, which are the protons and neutrons that make up atomic nuclei, the universe would look kinda different. With so many baryons around, the nuclear fusion reactions that occurred during the Big Bang would have produced a different mix of elements. So if you accept the Big Bang theory, there's no way out. The vast majority of the material content of the universe really is composed of mysterious non-baryonic particles, and then you add dark energy into the mix. A catchy name, but no one knows what it is. In 1998, astronomers discovered that the current expansion rate of the universe is larger than it was a few billion years ago. Apparently, the expansion of the universe is speeding up, despite the mutual gravitational attraction of galaxies that is expected to slow it down. Dark energy, which can be thought of as being like the repulsive force of empty space, is held responsible for this acceleration. Some 70% of the full content of the universe consists of dark energy. The remaining 30% is matter. But only a small part of this matter, roughly 4% of the total content of the universe, is composed of ordinary particles. particles, and at most 1/4 of this baryonic matter is visible to us as stars and gas clouds. Most cosmologists are happy with the concordance model. All of the jigsaw pieces appear to fit nicely, but the only teensy-weensy problem is that nobody knows what the puzzle represents. Number 1. How fragile was the creation of Earth? Imagine a world without gravity, skyscrapers, or even animals. According to some very popular theories, if one little thing had been different during the creation of the world, the life we know could have been drastically different. Our material universe consists of elementary particles, governed by the 4 forces of nature. Physicists can measure particle properties like the mass ratio between protons and electrons. They can study the strength and behavior of gravity, electromagnetism, and the 2 nuclear forces. And they can determine a host of physical constants, like the speed of light. But no one knows why all those values are what they are. So now I feel a lot better, knowing I dropped science when I did in high school. But the very, very popular question is, why is the universe the way it is, and could it have been different? One thing is crystal clear: don't mess with the cosmos. Which honestly lends a lot to time travel theories, how going back in time and messing with so much as adding a body is able to drastically alter the fabric of the world as we know it. Just a slight change in the mass or charge of a particular type of particle, or a tiny increase in the strength of one's, nature forces, would render the universe devoid of stars, planets, and life. It looks as if nature has been tweaked to produce complexity, or fine-tuned for the emergence of life. So if the fundamental properties of the universe are the lucky outcome of a random process, it seems like a heck of a coincidence that the result would be so perfectly tailored. If I'm talking betting man odds, if you only buy one lottery ticket, it's highly unlikely to be the winning one. On the other hand, if some yet to be discovered theory of everything allows only one possible universe, it's unclear why that unique solution would have to be a life-spawning one. The multiverse would be a possible solution to this mystery, where our universe is just one of a huge ensemble of many possible universes. If there are zillions of universes, all possible combinations of natural constants, particle properties, and strengths of forces could occur somewhere. Of course, we necessarily find ourselves in a universe that allows for the origin of life. Hey, I'm all for a multiverse theory.